This is why I'm obsessed with what you guys do. And this is why I'm like searching for more answers and why I'm open to looking at FP, looking at what you guys do, and looking at the whole scope of things, because it challenges all the stuff I ever learned. You know, I was always like, you know, like if somebody wanted to come in here, let's say 5 years ago, and they wanted to bring their local high school football team in here, I'd be like, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to turn these kids into monsters. And I would utilize what I knew at the time.
Yeah, it is.
But a lot of this stuff is really challenging me to kind of to rethink and reconsider. And we know for a fact, anyone that's played a sport knows that there's the people that can lift and there's the people that can play. Every once in a while, those two things coincide, but a lot of times they don't. Nsima was pointing out that one of the best soccer players he knew was a guy who could just fucking run circles around everybody, and I don't think he trained, right?
No, he did a little bit of lifting. His name is Ernesto Carranza. He was number 10 over at SAC. But you look at his upper body, it didn't look like he lifted anything. Look at his lower body, like he had some meat on his legs. He was a soccer player, but he was the best guy on the field in almost every fucking game. Like, and he wasn't highly muscled. I know it's sport specific to soccer, but like in a lot of sports, it's similar. Like, it's not always the most jacked player on the court or on the field that is the best player.
Right.
It's the people who move the best.
And what you guys are doing is I think there's a misconception that you're not like lifting. So then people are like, well, what are they doing in the gym?
We got a strength component. Y'all felt it a little bit out there.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I did.
It's hard. And when you do the sled and when you're trying to rotate your hips the right way, I mean, your butt goes on fire right away. I mean, there's still tons of muscle tension. It's just we don't have like a measurable for like, you know, going on the Bosu ball and then pushing against the band. It's not 405 in the squat.
Right.
So if you drop off your son to go work out with the coach, and you say, hey, you know, what'd you guys do? Did you squat? Did you bench? And they're like, well, I went on this ball, and then the guy had me balance this way because he's like trying to get me in these better positions with my hips. I think a lot of parents would be like upset, and they would be like, what are you doing?
I still get, like I said, I got these dads that come to me and they like, yeah, he needs core strength and he needs to do this. I'm like, well, what you even coming here for? Like, if you know all of this shit, then just do it. You know what I'm saying? But when we get, and what we've done is out locally, we've got our trusted people. The first kid that he showed up in the triple extension is fake thing. When I did that, I used a defensive tackle that I've been having for about 2 years now. His name's Nigel Marshall. They call him Animal. He's this laid back, kind of nonchalant kid. And then when he's on the football field, it's like he's got this alter ego. Well, he's in the 7th grade. He's the one that, I didn't tell you this, but I told y'all yesterday, he went to the combine. He's in the 7th grade. He goes to this combine. They put 85 pounds on the bar. He's never benched before. We do the Henny press. We do the catwalks and things like that. And he goes and he hits 85 pounds 54 times. And he's never bench pressed before. Nice. It's just what he does. So when I showed him like barreling over people is when I put the thing on there that triple extension's fake, because he never hip thrusted one time. His hips never went in the extension, and he just managed everybody, upper body, keeping the butt back, loading the glutes and stuff like that. But we have those loyal people that's with us. And then the other side of it is we got people that know what we do. They don't train with us, and then they go get hurt. Well, then when they come in, they got to see our physical therapist, because there's a Miss Lynn Grimm. She handles like anybody that's come off the table. We could take somebody straight off the table now because we have the medical professional in our facility, but she's a GOATA coach. So the goal is to get you from the table, get you built back up to how you should, but to do it inside of the GOATA math, so that we're not taking somebody that went through 6 months of physical therapy and then we got to go to 6 months of recoding the athlete so they don't tear the ACL again. We could do it all at once. And we've done it with Irv Smith from the Vikings. He was a guy that spent a little time with us a while back, but never really kind of dove in. Now he's dove in all the way. But so when somebody comes in on that therapy side, they've been hurt. So the parents knows they've been hurt. And then when they come in there, it don't matter what you do with them at that point. As long as you get the result, then it's cool. And then when word spreads, they like, you know, everybody that calls like, hey, man, I heard y'all doing great things over there. I'm like, listen, if you're looking for the traditional stuff for your kid, I almost like got a disclaimer up front, like, hey, we're not gonna do that stuff. If you're looking to put a bar on his back, I got 5 guys in the area that'll do a great job with it. But it's not what I do. I stay in my lane.
Why you, coach? Like, why? Like how did you start to figure out some of this stuff? I think maybe the strength coaches, like we're looking at a guy from the University of Alabama that blew out his knee. We're looking at some professional athletes that have strength coaches that went to school for this stuff. Like, I think maybe that might be something that people are thinking is like, where's your PhD? Like, where's your background? How did you start to land on this stuff? Did you used to train people conventionally, and did you have poor results or something? Like, what happened?
No, we didn't have poor results. I mean, so one of the big things that kind of was a turning point for me is with Jamal Chase. So I had Jamal from the 8th grade. And we did a lot of the traditional stuff. We did all of the, the lifts and the power lift. I had a powerlifting coach, an Olympic lifting. I had everybody. What at the time would be called like a functional movement coach or something like that, but it's more like strength-based or whatever. And Gilly came into the picture about 2015, and kind of Gilly kind of told his story or whatever about all of the back trouble and stuff. So Gilly had some concepts that was like Gilly gave me and Ricky an outline, is what he did of this is what the future of training needs to be. Go fill in the blanks. Go fill out the paragraphs and finish the story. And that's what we've done is basically just, I mean, like I said, I got 24,000 entries in my iPad. 9,000 of them's videos. It has taken a long time to build that. So it took a lot of time, and I had to develop a belief system. Jamal came down with a ball his senior year and had a patella issue. At that point, I was like, this could have been real bad. And Gilly had told me he was a high risk of injury. So when at that point, I had to sit back, look in the mirror and say, am I going to continue down the path I'm on? Because it's okay for Jamal to get hurt because it's part of sports, right? That was the mentality that removed the accountability. I didn't have to be accountable because it was easy to go with the pack because that's what the pack says.
Power Project family, how's it going? Now on this podcast, Mark, Andrew, and we talk about fasting a lot. We talk about the ketogenic diet and a lot of different types of diets, but Bubs Naturals has a product. They have the collagen protein, which is amazing. They have these apple cider vinegar gummies, which are like crack, but they have
they have these
MCT oil powder packets that I've never used to do this, but in the morning I'll wake up and I'll put it in coffee, and the smoothness, number one, in terms of the mixing is amazing, but the consistency of my energy through the day because of the MCT oil powder is peak. Andrew, how's your experience with it?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. It's like the best way to start the day. You're satiated, you're energized, and you're just ready to crush the day. So if you guys want to get in on this MCT oil powder, head over to bubsnaturals.com and at checkout, enter promo code POWERPROJECT to save 20% off your entire order. Again, Bubs Naturals, promo code POWERPROJECT to save 20% off. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
That's what most of the strength and conditioning coaches around the world are going to say is that, man, this is sports. Like, you got to be tough. You're going to have injury and blah, 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 which has a level of truth to it. But I can't let that be the scapegoat when my top guy gets hurt and nobody put their hands on him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I had to look in the mirror. Once that happened is when I went and bought an iPad. And I went and I started scraping video. I started looking at the injury. And I looked at the injury in comparison to what I was doing in the gym. And then that's when it started to kind of unfold right before my eyes. And then, Gilly was guiding me through a lot of that stuff. And then when Ricky came in, and Ricky had been looking, like he wanted to know, hey, listen, I've done every program out there. I've done every movement program out there, and none of them helped me throw a football better. Nothing did. Now he could throw. He could throw like he threw back in high school or whatever. And he went to everybody. His dad, they not probably wealthy, but they got a little money. So he was able to give him the resources that he needed to go see this quote, to go work with a Tom Martini, like Tom Brady's quarterback coach, people like that. You know what I'm saying? So he was given all of the resources, but he's like, man, we in Iowa. He's like, I had shoulder surgery one day, and I'm doing single arm snatches the next day. with my arm in a sling, on the other arm naturally. But he's like, you know, like you eat iron, like that's what you do. You go in these high level programs and that's what they do. And then, you know, he wanted to know, none of it made him a better quarterback. So why me? I don't know, God. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you know, spiritually, I had a lot of things happen in my life that I got to step back and say, why did this get presented to me? The other part of it too is like most of the people laughed at Gilly. So then when I got on board, we got laughed at a lot. So it kind of conditioned us to be dicks a little bit, which I mean, now we kind of getting away, you know, I'm trying not to be that guy no more, but one of my last posts was because
Can't help yourself sometimes.
the other one that I put, it's fake or whatever, I used the guy lifting, the guy doing the cleans in there. That's a whole nother thing. They got a medical facility.
Was it hard for you to get rid of certain exercises where you're like, this can't be?
Well, that was the tough part because it took me till probably about a year when Ricky was in. Ricky was like, dude, you keep battling this deadlift thing. Just fucking stop deadlifting. Stop thrusting the hips forward. And I'm like, because what would happen is he knew how hard I was working. And he's like, dude, addition by subtraction. Let's go. Get that shit out of there and let's see if we could get more inside and come on eye. And it worked. Now, I mean, it's, you know, the biggest obstacle that we probably have is that every kid that walks into every weight. I mean, I still got kids now that they go to an Olympic lifting coach because when they get to college, they don't want to be shit in the weight room. You know, and they could be great players. I had a kid from the University of Texas, outside linebacker. He gets up there, he's a guaranteed red shirt. Week 4, he's starting. you know what I'm saying? Because people in front of him get hurt. He's just the kid that I showed you with the straight feet in that picture or whatever, the big kid. He goes up there, and then he comes back, and he's like, well, I didn't hit all the marks in the weight room. So he went in his off season this year, and when he was home, he was working with a coach that was training Olympic lifting. And I'm like, do you understand that now this kid had a knee injury. That's how I got him his sophomore year. And I was like, you do realize that the reason why you got on the field was because you're an elite mover, not because you clean the most in the weight room. Because if that's what kept you healthy, Saquon Barkley would be a pillar of health. And you go look at him catch that DB, he caught it the same way that he catches that lift. Like what you said, feet open, knee collapse.
Right.
So that's his innate pattern now. He's going to struggle.
Yeah. You know, it's this stuff is really, the GOATA stuff is really cool because when I understand an athlete comes to you, high school athlete, college athlete, comes into a gym, they're not like a lot of us here, or they're not like a lot of listeners of the podcast who hear a lot of different types of strength philosophies, and then everyone's doing their best to try to parse out and make something for themselves that works for them, but also allows them to move forward in the most beneficial way for themselves. Because I think about this, a kid comes in and he needs to get from point A to point B, get on the college team, get to the pro level. This kid isn't good. Like, we're not going to be trying to throw a bunch of different things at this kid. Like, you're not going to try to throw a bunch of kettlebell stuff, barbell stuff, whatever, like we do here. You're not going to do that. You're going to be like, this is a system that you need to do. Like, you need to stick to this, because when there's too many inputs, it's too confusing and it's not beneficial for the athlete. So I get why GOATA or some of these other movement stuff can be beneficial, because it puts them into a system of movement and it can help get rid of bad movement patterns that they had in the past. I guess my personal bias comes in with quite a few things because we've heard so much. We hear a lot. So that we hear certain things we agree with, we hear certain things we disagree with, but like with a lot of the GOATA stuff, actually everything's pretty great. But there's so many things where like, it's like, how can we now apply these things to all these other movements, and maybe just get rid of certain movements too? Because, for example, barbell back squats and deadlifts, I haven't done that in a very long time. My body's feeling the best it ever has. I'm moving the best I ever have, and I haven't touched any of those movements. I still use load, but I haven't touched that. And another thing that I wanted to mention, which was pretty interesting, I know that there are things that you guys disagree with as far as like Ben Patrick, and there are things that within that system that aren't ideal. But an interesting thing with him too is when he came in, he doesn't deadlift. He doesn't. He came in and he started doing deadlift work. Deadlifted 485 and it was pretty easy, but he doesn't do that usually within
he still had the strength to do it.
That I think was something that is a cool through line. You don't have to do these movements to be strong.
No, right.
A lot of athletes look at that, they're like, I want to deadlift 500 or 600 pounds. And when I say athletes, I mean field athletes, footballers, sport athletes. I'm talking about that, not powerlifters.
Locomotive athletes.
Locomotive athletes. You don't need to do these movements to actually have the strength to do these movements. You can do all the stuff that you guys are showing. You can do a lot. You can do that stuff because you took us through a workout, Andrew and I was like, wow, this stuff with load can actually be progressed. That athlete could probably get behind a deadlift bar and deadlift 500 pounds without touching it.
I'm telling you right now, like, first off, let me say this. I watched some of the podcasts with Ben Patrick. Super nice guy. He's a great guy. Like, I don't want, there's like, this stuff don't really necessarily have to be personal. It may be just a disagreement. The difference between our program and everybody else's is that we studied an elder community, meaning like we looked at the 100-year-old tribesmen. We looked at the 104-year-old Ida Keeling that could still go run the 100 meters, and she's setting a bow, she's cornering, and she's in her back chain.
By the way? You mentioned her yesterday. I've never heard of her.
Yeah, go Google her. She's
Ida Keeling?
She goes to the pin relays. Well, she's dead now.
Hey guys, I've seen that you guys have been commenting about how much you hate the whispering outro, asking you to like, comment, and subscribe. So I'm going to whisper again because I know you don't like it. So, hey, I know we're bringing you some good content. So like, comment, subscribe, and share it with some friends so we can all help each other out. And maybe I'll stop whispering in your ear. Bye.